got 6 carbons. And when you eat, the food goes into your cells. Food goes into your cells and it breaks down into energy. So it happens in a couple of steps, right? Now, follow me now, just follow me. This may seem a little cumbersome, but I'm gonna try to make it easy so you can understand. So, and it'd be better if I can go on my whiteboard, but I don't have a microphone and lens that can reach that far. So, when you eat carbohydrates, it's 6 carbon glucose, and it breaks down into a 3 carbon molecule called pyruvate. Or pyruvic acid. And then once you get that pyruvate, it breaks down further, and it actually breaks down into electricity. It produces an electric current within the cell, right? So that's when oxygen is present. So there's 2 compartments in the cell. So you have, I don't know if y'all can see this right here, right? Okay, so see this big stuff right here? That's called it's like the cell water. It's called the cytoplasm. And this little part right here, this is where the energy production happens right here. But it first starts in the water right here called the cytoplasm. So within the cytoplasm, that's where it breaks down into pyruvate, a 3 carbon compound. So you got 6 carbons and you go to 3 carbons. And then, that happens in the cell water. So when there's oxygen present, this pyruvate, this 3 carbon compound, is going to go into this compartment in the cell right here. And that's where it's going to further break down and produce an electric current. So there's electricity is happening in your body. Okay. So this little compartment right here is something called a mitochondria, right? And if you've taken freshman biology, they all say what's the powerhouse of the cell and all that stuff like that. So that's where things get totally broken down within the mitochondria. That's where energy is produced. That's where all of your energy is, well, not all, but I would say 98% of the energy is produced in this little compartment right here. All right, so out of this compartment comes carbon dioxide, CO2. I don't know if you can see that, it says CO2. And that's what we breathe out, right? So all that happens when there's oxygen present. Now, when there's oxygen not present, right, there has to be oxygen present for this to work right here. If there's no oxygen present, or you consumed all the oxygen, then this compound right here, this pyruvate, cannot be broken down into carbon dioxide. So instead, it's going to convert into something called lactic acid. Okay, it's going to produce lactic acid, and that happens when there's no oxygen present. Now there was a, I think he was an Austrian physicist, or he was a biochemist, but he's like the premier biochemist of the 20th century. His name was Otto Warburg, and the guy, he discovered a process in which instead of the pyruvate breaking down into carbon dioxide in the mitochondria, it will just convert to lactic acid or lactate at a high pace, at a high rate, even when oxygen is present. Okay, and this is called the Warburg effect. It's something called aerobic glycolysis. And it's to where that the sugar, the 3 carbon sugar, will not get broken down furthermore, you know, because there's no oxygen, or now there is oxygen present in this case, but you know something's going on. So what he said is there's some kind of defect within the cell that won't allow it to be broken down anymore, and this is the genesis of cancer. So when you have oxygen present, but the molecule won't be further broken down, instead it turns to lactic acid, that's the genesis of cancer. And I wouldn't even say that's just the genesis of cancer. That's the genesis of any kind of sickness. Okay. So what did I say happens in the compartment where the energy is produced? The energy is produced, right? So if there's no components in the energy producing part of the cell, then guess what's going to happen? You're going to have a lack of energy, and that's pretty much what happens in any kind of disease. And you know that's basically, you know, basically cancer is like the last phase of that whole process and whatnot. Okay, so lactic acid is a factor, or not a factor, but it's actually man, what is the word I can use? It's an indicator. Yeah, it's an indicator in every disease. Every disease there is, lactic acid is, you got a high concentration of lactic acid within the cell. Okay, so carbon dioxide good, lactic acid bad. When you're producing carbon dioxide, that means you're getting the full turnover of energy of the food you eat. If you're producing lactic acid, then that means you're not getting the energy that you need. That means the energy production is shut down somehow. Okay, and you know, another way you can remember it is when you're working out. You know, when you're working out really hard, you're lifting weights, and you get tired, and your muscles start burning. That's lactic acid. You know why? Because you consumed all the oxygen. Your muscles have no oxygen available. So it converts the energy that's, you know, that is being